Welcome back. Another episode. It's never going to be perfect. It's a never perfect podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Casey Ryan Quinn. And look, I've got nobody with me today. Really, what we want to get into, I want to touch on, the topic around doing charity work or running events, hosting events, investing in the community more than just the capitalistic side of the business, right? We say we invest in the community. We do. Our mission is to build happiness, transform lives, strengthen a community, right? So the community is a big piece of everything we're doing. Obviously, we have a property management company that likes to take care of homes and tenants. We've got a lending company taking care of investors, right? All of the things. And so our normal, economy of scale in the business side, in the business sense, is services. And so when you're servicing, anything and doing services, you're doing it for other people, you're doing it for the community, et cetera, right? But, today, in honor of some charity events that we're hosting and in honor of really making it a push here this year in 2026 to invest more in the community deliberately through events, through charity work, through donations and support, through relationships and through everything we're doing, here locally and beyond. So, I'll start there, right? As to the why. Why do we desire, and why do I desire, and why was this the year? And I don't remember what episode that we touched on it, but I had Leandra on, who's been a major part of the gala and really been heading it up and head of the gala committee. The Steel Point Gala that we're hosting on July 18th here in a couple of weeks coming up, which is going to be an incredible, high-end gala event. We're close to selling out those tickets, but why? Why did we want to do that, right? And, then we'll get into a little bit more as to how that impacts the business and things, and Alexis is going to ask me some questions, but the real meaning behind it is why are we alive? And I go back to that general question, why is my mission to build happiness, transform lives, and strengthen the community? Well, I think that the answer to me is look, at the end of the day, people are what drive the economy. People are what drive emotion. People are what drive pretty much anything we do in this world, right? You wake up and what do? You strive to have relationships with other people, right? If you wake up and go to bed every day and don't ever talk to a single human, you're probably not very happy. And at the end of the day, we're all going to die. And so it's you might as well be happy along the way. And so you might as well host events, get social, do different things. And then there is the business aspect to it of how does it actually help those businesses? And so I think it's multi-purpose, right? Multifaceted as far as, we certainly do it to give back to the community and to flex our muscles and flex our happiness in terms of giving. And then the other side of it is what value does it bring to your own business and what it is that you're trying to do in order to create wins inside of your life and your company. So, I think there's a lot of reasons why. Those are kind of the main reasons why, but, we can get into it more specifically. And I think the first area I want to get into more specifically is, of course, the feeling that we get. I think that's the main one. I think everybody gets that, right? When you donate to charity or you host an event or anything that you're doing, the emotional feeling you get that feels good of giving, right? We all like to give and it feels good. But I think more importantly, right, to give business advice and really the reason why we're on the podcast is to understand maybe the business purpose more or so behind it, right? For me and for our businesses and for your business, if you're just starting out, you're an entrepreneur, and you only have limited resources, right? You have limited funds, both time and money. Those are our two main resources in anything that we ever do, whether it's your own time or your employees' time or your own money or someone else's money that you're raising. It's all opportunistically, a resource that you're using to give to somebody else. And what is the return on that investment or of that give of time and money? And I think that's the real evaluation here is you can't just give forever. And I've always been a capitalist. I believe in capitalism. And so what is the return on that feel good or the return on that investment that you're making, whether again be time or money in whatever way that we're using it? And I think the way that I always kind of evaluate that is well, first off, I'd tell you it's incredibly difficult to evaluate the capitalistic return, meaning, if I donate $10,000 to Make-A-Wish, what is the return on that for me? Well, I'll give you a perfect example, right? We were at the boardroom. My great friend, Brady McDonald, TJ's good friend, was raising money. He gave a speech, talked about how he ran the 300-mile Arizona race. and he was raising money for charity in the room, and he was asking for donations. And, we ended up donating $10,000 to Make-A-Wish, which gave a child a Make-A-Wish, right? For every 10 grand that they raise, they get a new child a Make-A-Wish. And I'll be honest, the return capitalistically on that was absolutely nothing, right? It was literally him on stage. We raised our hand. We submitted and donated $10,000 to that charity. Well, the feel-good side of that was certainly real. We were able to give $10,000 to a Make-A-Wish. We literally made a wish for a child that is going through tough times, whether that be through illness or whatever that might have been through the Make-A-Wish Foundation, which is an incredible charity, right? But there's the other ways, and so that was a feel-good. Hey, we really want to help. There's a lot of people in a room helping. The capital side or the business return on that investment side was a lot smaller there because there really wasn't any other than the moral and the ethical, well-being of who we are. The gala is a perfect example where there's more than just the charity and more than just the giving to two incredible, charities that were given all of the money that we raised through the gala to. But there's a business purpose side to it too, right? Which is, number one, everybody that is out there likes to be involved in businesses that have a charitable component. We raise capital, right? We have investors that invest in our business, specifically into our lending business, right? Where we're raising capital and we're lending it out. And people like to see that we have a charitable component to what we're doing, that we're good people, that we care about, other society. We care about people. We care about, donating back and giving back to the communities that we serve. So there's that side of it. And then I think the other side of it is, right, like you host a gala, our goal is to get a lot of our investors there to see a lot of what we're doing, to see us outside of the workplace, to have conversations and build relationships with folks at that event that, you don't get to see outside of the offices. You don't get to see at a nice event, right? And the other side of it too, as well, is to have a good time, to provide an opportunity for people to do things that they might not have that opportunity to do. Again, the gala is a perfect example for us because it is relevant, it is time-bound, it's right now, right? It's in a couple weeks. And it's been a crazy amount of work and effort, hundreds of hours of time of our team, of Leandra, of my time. My wife's highly involved, like 6 or 7 members of our team are putting in hundreds of hours of time. Well, what justifies on the capitalistic side to do all of that for that event other than feeling good and giving back to the community? Again, getting them investors there is one big thing, but then creating the relationships and having a good time and providing the reward, because think about it, right? It's an event, it's an expensive donation, but it's at a high-end country club. There's an incredible, run of show, a couple speakers that we have, right? The event that night out, it's unlimited alcohol. It's going to be an incredibly good time. And guess what? A lot of the people attending otherwise wouldn't have that opportunity to go do that, right? It's not like, I've never been invited to a gala in Pittsburgh at a country club. I never have. And my guess is I get invited to more events than most of the people coming there, most of our investors that are with us on a day-to-day basis. So it's also just being able to provide that sort of opportunity to bring people together, to build a community of like-minded individuals that want to help others. And when you can bring a lot of people that are like-minded, doing good for the world together in a way of which we're doing good for the world, I mean, you can't beat that, right? So that's really the motivation and incentive. And can you quantitatively, right? I'm a quantitative guy. I like objectivity. Can you quantitative and objectively measure the return on this and all of the time we sunk into this? Like, absolutely not. You can't quantitatively, right? But qualitatively, I think that you can, right? You have more buy-in from your investors, from the local communities. We got a lot of sponsors, and so you're building more relationships with sponsors and their business. Their hope is to get business out of it, right? And so we do a ton of sponsoring of other charity events where we can go and we can, try to win business and build relationships out of it. So that's really the economic, business return on investment side that matters. And a lot of the reason why I think a lot of people host events and do various charity work in order to help the business via the charitable component arm of it. Now, with that being said, I think it's important to understand what relates to you specifically, right? Because we all have this eager desire to want to give back, to want to, whether it's write a check or volunteer our time. And a lot of us, right? A lot of you probably, running small businesses that are listening to this or, figuring out how to create and start your own business. are thinking about how to also give back and give charities, right? So I think the first thing for you to start thinking about how to go about doing this is, number one, understand the constraints that you have and the opportunities that you have in front of you, right? Meaning, what kind of money do you have compared to what kind of time do you have? Those are your two most valuable resources, and time being yours or other people's. And then what access to the opportunity to give to other people do you have, right? Do you have charities close to heart that you know the people well that will help support what you're trying to do? I think that's one big way where you can think about how to do it, right? Do you have access to a venue where you could host a certain event, right? Whether that, might be a restaurant or, a catering hall, or there's 1,000 different, things that you do. A good buddy of mine, David Allen, right? He's on his 10th annual charity fashion show. And so he chose a fashion show as his good. Guess what? He sells high-end custom suits, right? He's a fashion guy. And so the way that he gives back is through a fashion show. This year, it's in September. We are going to be one of his premier sponsors. And so this is a perfect example of what means do you have to create opportunity and create success? David Allen is in the fashion industry. He runs a fashion show. Obviously, it helps his business because he's in the fashion industry. He sells clothing, but also he's found a way to give back to charity through what he does on that side. Well, guess what? I am not a fashionable guy. David always laughs because we always laugh about it, where he says, he judges people to walk through the airport well, oh crap, he's probably judging me. I'm just not the most fashionable guy. So how are we getting involved, right? So we are donating and becoming a sponsor of his event, right? And so we don't have to be fashionable, but guess what? There's certain perks that we get by donating just money, right? So we're not giving time. We're not setting up his fashion show. We're just simply becoming a sponsor. Well, in this case, we're becoming the bar sponsor. So our name will be on every single napkin. It'll be all over the bar. And so everybody at his event there is now going to see and feel our brand at the bar. And maybe 7 to 10 to 15 of them look us up and inquire about what we have going on, and they may be interested in doing business with us, right? Because we are associating our brand now with his brand to his constituents and his following and the people that want to attend his fashion show. Well, they might have an interest in us, right? And in that example, we're just donating capital in order to try to get a return, as well as, again, donate the money to charity through his performance. Separately, again, going back to that gala, we have time, resources, we have a venue. And so it was easy for us to do that, right? I'm a member at the country club, right? So we have access to a high-end ballroom. Okay, well, if we have access to a high-end ballroom and not many people do, that's something we can do. How can we correlate that to creating success, from a foundation perspective, from a donation perspective? And so all of the point of that to tell you is what resources do you have access to? What is near and dear to your heart? What charities do you want to support? Well, what's near and dear to your heart? For instance, in the gala for us, we chose 2 charities, right? One being animals. The basis to that was one of our biggest investors, the biggest supporters that we've had for 5 or 6 years, is a super supporter. That's the number one charity he gives the most he can to. He's highly supportive of them. And so as a give back to him, right, as a supporting of him, we wanted to support his largest charity. And so we said, hey, we have access to a ballroom. We believe we have access to enough people that want to come to a high-end gala, and we want to support one of these investors. And so let's make his near and dear to his heart, that, charity, one of the main supporting endeavors that we do for this gala. And oh, by the way, we also wanted to give to kids, right? And, I want to give to kids because I've always wanted to give to kids. My dad has always been, give back to kids. And it was one of those things how do we give to kids? Well, we have another investor that has the Martha Fund, and that's to build playgrounds for kids. And guess what our mission is? Again, build happiness, transform lives, strengthen the community. Well, what better way to build a playground for children, right? To build happiness, transform lives, and, strengthen the community. Well, imagine a playground in the community, right? And the supportive investor, right? So we're supporting 2 investors, we're supporting children, we're supporting animals. It's perfect, right? That's how that specific event came together. And so my point to that is what do you have access to and what is simple for you to get up and running? Now, the gala hasn't been easy to get up and running, but we have a big team. And so we had access to time, lots of time to go out and solicit sponsors, right? To organize the gala, to use that venue, right? I think our team's been up there 7, 8 times, right? My wife is really good at designing signs and things like that. So we have access to her to create the layout, right? To decorate it, interior design, the party. So, if you don't have those things, then I'm yeah, don't throw a gala, right? But maybe you have some other access that you have, or maybe you have some other way that you can create something inside of your world, right? Maybe you run a marketing agency, and so maybe there's a way to create charity opportunities through your marketing agency, right? Maybe it's, hey, I'm going to donate 20 hours of service to 6 nonprofit companies and give them free marketing services, right? As an idea of how you can give back to charity, And so I just really think it depends what's going on in your life and what can you reasonably do that's going to help you, help others, and help the cause of whatever it is that is your mission and whatever it is that you're after. And remember, you don't have to compare yourself to others. We always talk about it in business, collaboration over competition all day. Don't compare, right? Eliminate ego, eliminate fear. Well, in this case, look, if all you have is 0 time and $20, well, the $20 is going to go a long way. Choose the charity that matters most to you and give the $20 to that charity. I give $100 a month right now to St. Jude, among many other things. Well, that's just money, right, to St. Jude, because guess what? I care deeply about children and them being sick and finding ways to create recovery for them. Well, guess what I don't know how to do? Help them, like physically, right? Like I've got 3 little kids at home. I run a ton of businesses. I'm in Pittsburgh. So here's money, right? But we can really impact these 2 charities through running a gala because we have access to be able to do those things. And it's our calling, right? It's our mission. And so that's why we are excited and pushing the gala and why that makes sense for us, where many different things can make sense for you. That's why the fashion show makes sense for David Allen. What industry are you in? What can you do? And what is a reasonable way for you, if you're passionate about it and want to do it, to give back that makes sense specifically for you as far as the resources and capabilities and accesses that you have. So July 18th, Steel Point Foundation, Midnight in Monaco, Gala, tickets on sale. You got to go, right? It's going to be an incredible time. I think it's probably going to be one of the biggest events of the summer. David's event is in the fall. But think about it. You get a whole night out, right? The cost of the event for you is all a donation. You're going to have a high-end dinner at a country club, right? Fantastic. You're going to have silent auctions where you're going to be able to get more. You're going to have unlimited alcohol if you're a drinker, right? Have a couple drinks. There's going to be a couple hundred people at the event that you're going to be able to network with and socialize with and create relationships with and create opportunities. And it's a Saturday night. What better things do you have to do on a Saturday night than get dressed up? How often do any of us ever get dressed up anymore? Basically just weddings. And it's exciting to get dressed up every once in a while. So let's get ourselves dressed up. Let's go network. Let's go create relationships. And let's go help 2 incredible charities continue to do amazing things, continue to help animals, continue to build playgrounds for children, across Western Pennsylvania and beyond. And let's do good, right? By having fun, by giving back and enjoying ourselves. There's nothing, better than that. And that's why we're excited about it. It's only a couple weeks away. We need to see you there. With that being said, I'm Casey Quinn. And guess what? This podcast wasn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect because it's the Never Perfect Podcast. We'd love for you to give us a look on Instagram, on social media, follow us, check out what we're doing. We would love to have conversations about our business. Talk to you soon. Let's go.